If you turn your back on the town, if you take that village track up an unmade road, you'll find something absolutely extraordinary. Wales's hidden houses. In this series, I'll be stepping back in time, going over the threshold of some extraordinary places. I'll be revealing secrets, and I'll be seeking out scandal-packed histories. Bricks and mortar, they'll never seem the same again. Today we're in Llangollen, in a house that's now in the hands of a North Welsh rock dynasty.
And we just couldn't believe our luck. We just thought this is the place that we want to be.
It's the birthplace of a family that gave as good as it got.
We got this land back from the English. It's one of the earliest mentions we've actually got that the Welsh are taking land back from the Saxons.
It was the home of a man who tiled the world, and is now owned by a woman who helped drive the 90s pop industry.
It's just a catalogue of them all, really. Boyzone, Steps, Peter Andre, PJ and Duncan.
Here in the very, very lovely Vale of Llangollen, there's somewhere up one of these terribly pretty drives is Trefor Hall. Not a bloke, but a house with a big architectural reputation. It's found itself right at the centre of the international ceramic tile industry, and also the background to an extraordinary pop lifestyle. Trefor Hall sits high on a hill in Llangollen in northeast Wales. And from here, it overlooks Thomas Telford's world-famous aqueduct. But Trefor Hall more than holds its own in an area rich in architectural and engineering history. There's been a house here for nearly 1,000 years. Previous owners have included Welsh warlords, country squires, and captains of industry. And the latest is Louise Parker. She bought the house 12 years ago with her late husband Louis. Together they built up a pop music empire. Sadly, Louis died of cancer when he was just 49, and today she lives on the estate with daughter Daisy and grandson Leo. You see, you do suit it. You do. You can make that look work for you. You really can. You look wonderful, lady of the manor. What did you see when you first came here?
I think what you saw when you came up, we walked up through these gates here and this stupendous house was in front of you. The sun was shining, freezing cold, and we just couldn't believe our luck. We just thought this is the place that we want to be.
This was a real change in the way that you were living. Don't mind me calling you a rock chick.
Yes. I guess that's what we were. We're in the industry and
exactly.
You know, that's who we were. I've been in London all my life, so it was a big change for me. But we needed a lifestyle change. It was good. We had a young daughter and it just worked well to come here, to come to a different part of the world. And my husband's family were from Wales and here we were. We could be near family and we could sort of live this more rural life, really.
What I love is, in amongst all this kind of country house grandeur and the generously blousy lavender and the neoclassical pediments, and you've got a very pink front door there.
Yes,
you've got a very pink front door.
And it was white when I came, but
was
I thought
it?
we needed something a little bit more oomphy.
With a bit more of a kick to it, right?
A bit more of a kick to it.
I can't wait to see what else you painted pink then. Let's have a look inside.
I know, let's show you.
Does it creak?
Yes, it does.
It creaks! Brilliant! I'm surprised to find this room behind that wall because it doesn't feel terribly Georgian, does it? Suddenly we're in something a bit more medieval.
Yeah, it is medieval. I mean, there would have been a house here from the 1300s.
I've noticed you're not frightened of the odd stag head.
No, we like stag heads and stuffed animals, I'm afraid. Not PC, but it's...
I can see you've got a bit of a thing about armour as well. I too like a bit of armour.
Oh, you do? Do you wear it yourself? Or?
I'd like to. I threatened the missus I'd get married in it, but she said you're not getting married if you get married in armour. Because I think it would be quite prone to chafe.
I would assume so, yes, very chafe.
Particularly on a wedding night.
Yes, not good.
It's your baronial dining hall, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's great for parties, absolutely fantastic for parties. You feel very grand when you're both sat on either end of the table.
Pass the salt, darling. Yes, only if it's on a little skateboard. And then through here, we have...
through here is the cinema room.
This room is a picture of Regency light decorating, but the shiny gold pillars, gold discs and general showbiz bling give a dirty great big clue to the Parkers' impressive pop pedigree. I'm so starstruck, it's not true, but the roll call of mighty names of pop that your husband looked after is absolutely extraordinary. Go on, lay them on me, just tide after tide of fabulous names.
There's a lot of them in here, really. We've got The Prodigy, which was his absolute favourite band, and he knew them very well and was great friends with the manager. And then he was the king of the kids, they called him at the time, because it was when young teen pop bands started to do arenas. And everyone was like, wow, these guys do arenas. So Boyzone, I think, was the very first one, but it's just a catalogue of them all, really. Boyzone, Steps, Peter Andre, PJ and Duncan.
A.K.A.
Anton Deck.
Could you ever tell them apart, by the way?
No, I used to find it very difficult.
I wondered whether you at least must know that one of them's got a birthmark or something. Or if you hold one of their heads up to the light, you can see daylight through it. I don't know. There must be a way.
No, I didn't know that. I didn't find that at all.
Well, just looking around, I can see All Saints over there.
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah,
All
the
Saints with Bill Clinton. Now, what's that all about?
That was the G8 summit.
And this was to show our culturally rich...
Yes,
dynamic,
beautiful girls,
lovely girls.
Absolutely.
For Bill Clinton.
And he was very, very pleased.
Did you leave a trail of them?
You could have done, yes.
How did everyone feel when you and Louis moved here with all your sort of rock and roll baggage that comes with it? Was there a lot of chat in Llangollen?
I think locally, because my husband was a local man from Rhyl, everyone was really excited. We had an after-show party here with Boyzone one time after a tour, and there were all kids hanging around the gate. So it was exciting for people here, I guess.
You've put in these gold panels on the wall in this very, opulent, very sexy, very Georgianish way to frame real trophies of Louis' triumph. That, 200 years ago, would be a coat of arms.
Yes.
Or it would be, a rifle that someone used at Waterloo. But now it's actually about the music industry.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's the same idea.
Yeah, of course it is.
But it's just about now.
Yeah, it's having all the things that that you've earned along the way.
What's truly amazing about Trefor Hall is that just over 2 decades ago it was in this state. The house went to ruin the years following the Second World War, and unbelievably, a local farmer used it as a cowshed. Architectural conservationist Michael Tree bought the house in 1987 and spent the next 11 years lovingly restoring it to its former Georgian grandeur, later selling it on to the Parkers in 1998. You used to own this place, didn't you?
I did, yes.
So what was this place like when you first saw it?
There was a pile of manure at the bottom of the stairs, and we found parts of the staircase in the manure. I think they'd been there a long time.
As someone that took a cow house, basically, a pretty derelict space, and did so much to rebuild it, to revivify it architecturally, are you finding yourself now looking around thinking, oh, I'm not sure about that colour, or I'm not sure about that curtain? Do you still feel a little bit of,
Not in the
proprietorial.
Not in the least.
You're happy that it's gone on to a...
Hugely so. Happy, thrilled, and very touched that it has, because it's now living in a way that I'd always hoped it would be, and it's almost got a life of its own.
I've got to ask this, but after all of that energy, all of your resources, all of your love, all of your time doing this place up, why did you sell it?
Primarily because my piggy bank had been emptied into the house,
yes,
and I wasn't able to reassemble the setting, which I felt was vital. So I had the choice of either remaining here rather like a dog in the manger and perhaps seeing the setting go, and the house being profoundly damaged and my own amenity going, or hand it on to somebody else who could take it on from where I was leaving it off. And as luck would have it, Louis and Louise came here, and boy, have they done a great job of taking it on to its next phase.
Other than the columns, of course, the thing that really catches my eye is the floor.
Painted floors. I've done quite a few painted floors in the house. I love them, and it's as simple as seeing them in various decorative books and thinking I love those floors, and not wanting to carpet the house and not wanting to have rugs everywhere, old tatty rugs. And I just love paint. I love designs, colours, anything.
I like the idea of taking something that's quite posh and giving it its own rock and roll slant.
Yeah, I think so. I guess it's almost like a sort of stage, like a theatre stage, I guess. That's the idea.
Well, you and I are currently starring in our very own early 1980s rock video. I don't know.
It does look a bit that way.
I think we need a bit of billowing muslin.
We do. There's a little bit behind there, just a bit of wind would be good.
A handful of doves in the foreground. Is there, though, a bit of a spectre looking over your shoulder the whole time? Because this is an incredibly important, very, very historical building.
I know.
This isn't your, dream home that you've created yourself. You are a tenant, basically, a historical tenant.
Absolutely. I know. And I've not gone about painting this floor in a historically Georgian way. I haven't. I strongly believe that we should be able to have fun with the houses. We don't need to live in the Georgian times or the Victorian times. We can add to the house. We are a part of history, all of us, and I can put a mark on this house without being detrimental to any of the eras that this house has covered. And I don't understand quite why the purists don't like that to happen, because I think it's important that the house lives and it doesn't become a mausoleum. And I enjoy it, as the Georgians would have done with the house, as the Victorians would have done with the house, and so do the Parkers. That's what we do. We have fun with the house.
I like the way you've become a whole architectural dynasty.
Well, yes, I've got a bit far of it.
Is this Louis' legacy?
It is, because he's here. He's in this house.
Well, when they remake this programme in 200 or 300 years, both you and he will be, you are on that scroll. You cannot be removed from that scroll.
Quite like that.
Of course, as is completely typical of you, you've taken a kind of a country house convention, a country house cliche, and you've pimped it up, basically, haven't you? Because normally, in a hallway, on a staircase, one would see big, grand family portraits of unsmiling Victorian gentlemen and rather disapproving Georgian ladies. Yeah. But you've just got a crazy portfolio hang of family photographs.
All of the family back to 3 generations, I think, are here.
That's amazing.
But it's a nice way of remembering what everybody did, and the family rallied to actually dig into boxes and get the photos, which thankfully we did, because we've lost generations of the family since we've lived here.
Actually, it's a really good place to do it. And when the convention started, it started for very good reasons, I think, because sometimes if you had all these faces surrounding you in a living room and you were sitting there for 2 or 3 hours, it can be a bit, it's almost a bit too stimulating. It's almost a bit too engaging. You're wanting to talk about their stories. Whereas in a passageway like this or up a staircase, you're walking past it And, you know, you're getting little glimpses and pleasurable memories as you go, rather than being too focused on it. Fabulous images here. I'm obviously drawn to the siren. Who is it?
That is my sister-in-law, Louis' sister Rona, and she was very successful in amateur dramatics. Beautiful girl, as you can see here. This is her at about 18.
The term colourful obviously springs to mind
Yes.
to describe the families.
Very different, I think, really. Louis' mother was a clairvoyant when she was a young girl.
Really?
Yes, a real Italian gypsy.
That's you with a perm.
It is me with a bubble perm, yes. We can move swiftly on at that
It's
point.
a crazy fusion between you and your own horses there, isn't it?
Thank you for that, love. Perhaps that's why I went for curly horse.
Exactly.
It's back, though.
It is, but oh no, look, the 80s are dead back, aren't they?
Oh, they are, yeah.
But I don't understand people that don't have photographs around them.
No, I don't. And this is the smoking room.
I was going to ask you too, how do we address this snug little space? And this is where people would, well, I suppose this is where the gentlemen would come with their seagull, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. That's what it's for, and
Bit of a
still do
smoke and a
today.
spit. And these photographs are very interesting. Is this related to the history of the house?
It is, yes. This is J.C. Edwards and his family.
So when were they here?
They were here in the late 1800s. 3 generations, I think, were here. And he was a local brick and slate and tile manufacturer just in Rwabon, which is about 3 miles from here. I mean, he did a wonderful trade. He was a very successful man.
Just like Louise and Louis Parker, J.C. Edwards was what can only be described as a real grafter. From humble beginnings, he became the world's biggest manufacturer of ceramic tiles. His designs adorned grand houses around the globe. He even produced tiles for the Titanic. Jane Sharp is the last surviving link with the J.C. Edwards dynasty. I think it's such a wonderful story about J.C. Edwards, who's your great-grandfather.
That's right.
Creating a tile empire locally using the red clay.
It was brilliant, wasn't it? And it was all achieved in 30 years.
It's extraordinary,
Yes,
absolutely extraordinary.
yes.
But it went on to become a worldwide craze, really.
It really did. And he had 2 steamers which took tiles all over the world, to India, Americas, Africa. And of course the tiles were used on the London Underground. I can pick them up wherever I go.
As things started to blossom for him as a business, he set his sights on Trefor Hall, didn't he?
Yes, yes. And he took that on a 100-year lease. And they all moved up here in style. And he settled down as a sort of country gentleman. So it was an amazing thing, wasn't it? And I think at the height of the prosperity for them, they had 1,000 workmen.
The other thing, of course, is that these days J.C. Edwards tiles are incredibly sought after.
Good, I'm so pleased to hear that.
I think a lot of it is to do with the fact that people who live in Victorian houses or Edwardian houses who'd recognise floors like this as J.C. Edwards floors, and they were all over everywhere, weren't they?
Yes, they were.
What's it like coming back now and seeing what Louise and obviously Louis have done to the house?
Well, I think it's lovely progression, and I think it sits very comfortably with the old, and each room is exciting to go into.
As J.C. Edwards was shaping the industrial landscape of this part of Wales, 30 miles along the coast at Rhyl, Louis' family, the Parkers, were revolutionising the face of the modern resort with their amusement arcade and leisure business. The arcade machines that they made could be found on seaside promenades across Britain, and it's this family legacy that Louise is keeping alive at Trefor Hall today. There's me thinking it was
A beach.
a Georgian corridor.
No, it's an arcade.
This is mad, this one.
I know, it is crazy. And this Louis' father made for him. I called it Louis' Monkeys.
Really?
They had the arcades, they produced the machines themselves. It was a great...
Very creative.
Yeah.
I suppose he's a little bit young, but Daisy must have loved running
all
up and
these.
down
Yes,
these. And,
these are good running corridors.
Exactly.
And a great hide-and-seek house.
Yeah, no,
Fantastic.
for sure. They are beautifully done.
They are, aren't
so
they?
decorative.
Okay.
What we're going to do is we're going to make it work.
Should we make it
So we make it work.
There you go.
Aha. There we go.
Look at all these monies.
Let's see if Leo can do it.
Let's do
Quite
it.
tricky. There it is!
And come out.
It did.
You're going to push that?
Wow! Oh, that's so good. Come on then. Let's go and find some sweets.
Let's go and find sweeties.
That's all well and good, and that's all rock and roll. But who built Trefor Hall in the first place, and why did they build it here, quite so close to the border with England? Throughout its history, the house has been dominated by one family, the Trevors of Trefor Hall. Generations of them were buried here on former estate land at Valley Crucis Abbey. But it was Trevor Lloyd, the owner of Trefor Hall in the 1770s, that really cemented the family name in Welsh history. He renovated the ultimate symbol of Welsh nationalism, the pillar of the ancient Welsh king, Elise. It towers across the valley as a cornerstone of the Trefor Hall estate. Archaeologist Di Morgan Evans has discovered that it lists key Welsh figures who defended these lands from invading English forces, but for Trevor Lloyd, it represented his birthright. It's the Welsh stone.
The stone, the pillar of Elise, and it's got an inscription on it which is now eroded right away.
Yeah.
Which I think essentially said, we got this land back from the English. It's one of the
Right.
earliest mentions we've actually got that the Welsh are taking land back from the Saxons.
And in fact, I mean, it would probably have been a bit like Nelson's column. It would have been a very, very visible, very tall piece of
Well,
kit.
just see where we are on a mound, on a high ridge, overlooking the valley down towards Llangollen. Suddenly people come along and say to Trevor, you've got this monument which refers to Cadell and to Vortigern and to Magnus Maximus and all that sort of thing.
A Welsh Hall of Fame going back to the dim, distant, great days. And so there's Trevor thinking, cool, that's on my land, therefore it's part of me, it's part of my history.
Very, very much. He finds a stone box with some remains of bones in it. Amongst the bones are a skull. He thinks that this is Elise. He takes it back to Trefor Hall. He then has it gilded with gold leaf to preserve it better. He then puts it back in the box, fills in the mound, builds up this base and puts the whole thing up again. And he's really doing it as a major Trevor monument, just showing his great ancestry. And he bangs his name on it, T. Lloyd, in Latin, de Trefor Hall, and anno for the year 1779. And in his own way, this is the equivalent, in very gentlemanly terms, or squire of one finger to the rest of the world.
That's certainly what it looks like. I can now see why Trevor Lloyd saw this as his birthright. He must have been immensely proud to have it standing tall over Trefor Hall, which was built as a real bastion of defence against the marauding English. Historically, the hall bit of Trefor Hall was actually only a small part of the story. In fact, the powerhouse in terms of the finances and the way that this place looked was this. It was the estate, it was the landscape, and it was the land. And what's so wonderful about Trefor Hall is that this still exists. Trefor Hall still exists in its original context, in this romantic, rolling reality. I think Trevor Lloyd and his ancestors would have been delighted at what Louise has achieved on their old estate in a few short years. For the first time in more than 2 centuries, she's managed to buy back the 150 acres of land that originally came with the house. Although Louise still works in the music industry, she's also now a farmer and horse breeder. Oh, blimey. Thanks for the loan of your hot rod.
Oh, you're most welcome,
It's completely undamaged, as you can see.
When I first came here, it was literally just the house and the backdrop of the wood. And what I really wanted, what my husband and I really wanted, was to be able to put more of the estate back together.
Yeah.
This parkland here was the core of the house. It would have been where everyone sort of frolicked about.
Are you known to frolic? Do you do a lot of frolicking?
Oh, we frolic.
Do you
frequently,
frolic?
yes,
Yeah,
we
I
do.
can tell you're a frolicker. You can still see the original layout of what would have been quite a rolling,
Oh, yes.
almost like the background of a classical painting landscape.
It is. I mean, I guess that's how they wanted it to look.
Yeah.
They wanted it to sit there proudly up there and for the view to be fantastic. But I mean, originally it would have been here to look out for the English, the marauders coming across the border, which is only 3 miles away.
You're populating the landscape, aren't you?
We are.
With some very, very curly-permed quadrupeds.
Curly ponies, curly American Bashkir curly horses and ponies. And some Hereford cattle that we've now bought some pedigree.
He's
my
really nice
main
man.
stud stallion, and he's a fabulous horse. He's going to produce some lovely horses for people to ride.
You see, if I'm really good in this incarnation, I'm going to come back as a stud stallion.
I would. He's had a fab year.
Well, it's a mixing business with pleasure, isn't it? In many, many ways.
Exactly.
Despite her commitment to Trefor Hall, the memories in the house became too much for Louise after her husband Louis' death. She moved to another part of the estate with Leo and daughter Daisy, and Louise now hires the main house out to guests, and she believes this is what's given Trefor Hall its new lease of life. Nobody else could have done what you've done to this.
Possibly, I think. I threw myself into the house when my husband died. It's a way of escapism, I guess, a way of getting through grief, and it just got my mind set on getting the house better. The grounds we worked on a lot, the gardens, and just enjoying the house as much as I could, really.
Is that what's made it so intense?
I think so, yes. And it wasn't until I left the house that I realised, you know, what the house had become, if you like. Particularly when people started to visit to the house and say how wonderful it was and how did you do this, why did you do this.
There are certain elements I can see you've got such sympathy for, such regard for, such emotion for. And one of them is the motto, I think, is very interesting.
Dum spiro spero, whilst I breathe, I hope, which was very relevant to me 10 years ago, and I think will be relevant to me always. It's hope you have to have at all times. You do in your life, in whatever you do, you need hope. You need to look forward and come out of the sort of quagmire that you might find yourself in. But also I hope for other people, and for this house, it will always continue with that banner that, you know, there is hope in whatever you do. This house will live on through the next generation, through another family, you know, whoever moves into this house after me.
You have made this your home. Every kind of element seems to be a reflection of your personality. You're happy about this being your monument?
Yes, I guess I am now. Yes, I am. I'm pleased with the house. I love this house, and that's what's important. Love this house.
Of course, it's that funny old thing, isn't it, about dogs beginning to resemble their owners. Do the inhabitants of Trefor Hall begin to look like this house itself, with its classical elegance and good looks? Because they all have one thing in common: an amazing, energetic, willful streak that drives them forward. And now today, with Louise, there's an inhabitant at Trefor Hall that's not just committed to looking after the house, she's also 100% behind the idea of reuniting the house with its landscape.
And Laurence is rummaging around another hidden Welsh house at the same time next week here on BBC One Wales.